Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramon, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramon.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramon. I'm so thrilled to have you join us today. Been talking to the guests today, and boy, guys are going to learn a lot. Get the pad and paper out, because I say this all the time. You're going to want to take notes. I've already got a half a page of notes. I haven't even done a podcast yet. That's how great he is. Now, we dedicated this podcast to exploring the idea of having a purpose in your work and your business life, your work and your life. And that's Servant's Heart, serving, transform people, impact, make a difference. I get to do it every day. I'm going to do it today with my wonderful guest. Imagine being able to do that every single day, making a difference in people's lives. It's great. We also bring in guests on to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you in their world. And it could be Servant's Heart, it could be stories, but you'll definitely come away with impact like that. Now, here's your homework today, audience. I know a lot of people go, podcasts don't have homework. Well, you do. I want you to think about how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today, what impact you create today. And the key word is today. We were just talking about mindset before the show. That's a mindset thing. He's got something he does every year, my guest, and he just goes and does it. And the outcome's the outcome. Well, just go serve people. Don't worry about the outcome. I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, it's going to be a good outcome. And I want to thank our sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. Imagine joining community of high-income business owners and entrepreneurs who are building this thought leader platform to make that impact and difference in the world and maybe in your own world. For more information, reach out to me, and the link will be in the show notes as well. With that being said, transformation. It's a word I use all the time when I mentor podcast hosts and business leaders and entrepreneurs. It has to happen. Even has to happen to us. So we're going to dive into that and much more. So let's welcome our guest. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Transformation. Tell us what that is.
Well, it's a word that we use a lot, and it certainly has its own definition, and it means maybe different things on different levels. Like everyone's favorite phrase, there's levels to this. But in my world, transformation is really a shift in our behavior that leads to different outcomes and different experiences. It's a change, not at the surface level of what we do, but really a shift that can occur on multiple levels within your brain, within your body, within your behavior. And it's one of those things that one of my favorite phrases is, change happens slowly and then all at once. And anyone who's gone through something in their life, whether it happened to them or they sort of induced it on their own, right? We all go back and look and say, hey, that was the old me, right? If you've ever said that in your life, you've transformed in some way. And I think, that's what I do with individuals, with teams, with organizations. And it's a passion of mine and it's how I serve. And I'm excited to talk about it.
And it's brilliant because what you just said about slow, the Navy SEALs, I learned this phrase from my pastor, which is all people, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yep.
You know that. You just say, I love that. Audience, it's not hard. It's the mind that stops us from doing that, obviously.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the things that get in our way of that path for sure.
Let's talk about that. And real quick, when you transform somebody, how do you feel?
Well, I mean, it's, I did a LinkedIn post about this yesterday, actually. This week, I was with a client, happened to be a hospital, and we were down in the kitchen working with the cooks of all places, the company. This is what they do. And we were talking about culture and how to change and transform and really working with kind of salt of the earth people that are just every day serving patients, serving customers. And, it is the most rewarding thing that I do every day. Watching someone say, thank you for helping me on my journey is just, it's why I'm here. And that's not always easy. It shouldn't be easy. That's the point. And so I have another client of mine who's working on a promotion and has an interview on Tuesday. And we've been having weekly coaching sessions, getting ready for that. And she said to me just the other day, she said, I remember when we first started preparing for this interview and the way that I was just so anxious and nervous. And she goes, and now I'm ready. I'm comfortable. It's just a conversation. The world won't end if I don't get the promotion. And so, she just said, thank you. And that's what it's all about, right? Is helping someone through that experience.
I love that story because you transformed her. If she gets the job or not, she's changed. You've done your job.
Yeah.
Great job. Because she'll go out and go another interview and probably kill it and get that job and go, Michael, oh my gosh, right. That's what I love hearing. So let's get into details how you help transform and what that looks like.
Well, so I will talk about the book for those, you can see it behind me here. I just released a book 6 weeks ago or so called Change, 6 Science-Backed Strategies to Transform Your Brain, Body, Behavior. And for me, one of the, I think, great myths of change is that change happens broadly at scale across large groups of people. And the truth is, change happens individually. The only person you can change is yourself. The only person you'll ever be able to change is yourself. You can influence and guide and shape and direct, but at the end of the day, you control you. And so, what I do is really lead with a science and neuroscience-based understanding of what's happening to us at the microscopic level when we try to change, what's going on in our brains, what's going on in our bodies, all the way down to, what's the hormonal response to that, right? We all talk about dopamine these days, and there's all sorts of things about that. And there's some great research available. And, we know more about these systems than at any point in our history as a species. And yet, particularly in the professional world, we sort of show up and forget all those things. And we send someone to a 30-minute online training and pretend they're going to be different, right? And so that's really what it's about. That's what the book's about. And that's kind of how I lead through this experience with others.
Amazing thing about change, it's everybody. It's 100% of people in the whole world. Correct. Everybody's changing tomorrow, next month, next year. So the book could be for that executive or that person that works at Apple 8 to 5, right?
Yeah, no, it's really for everyone. And I started writing the book about organizations because that's where I started my career in the big consulting space. But as I started writing, I realized we need to get down to basic principles here, right? Because, that's how I help companies, but that's how I help individuals. And so, part of my job as an organizational consultant is helping companies peel back the onion about what they think is going on versus what actually is going on. And then, at the individual level, it's about giving people tools to withstand the change experience. All of us have goals we want to achieve every day, every year. We start off in January, right? There's a kind of a section of the book about Quitter's Day, which is January 19th, which is the day that most people give up on their New Year's resolution, right? And so, as I say in the book, and this is really a big belief of mine, what stops us from changing is not the desire to change, it's having a system for changing. And you can build that as a muscle, just like you can anything else. And that's what the book's about.
It's a crazy world when we have a day where people quit. It's just, when you said that, like, it's crazy. It is just what it is. Here's a selfish question. I think a lot of people in the audience might like it too. I mentor and work with people to help them change.
Yeah.
And they don't take the action. They don't do what I share with them, which is okay. If they, like you said, I can't help make them change.
Yeah.
How do you handle it on your end when you're trying to transform people and they're not transforming?
A lot of times this can be very detailed, but maybe it's a good example.
Yeah.
The challenge with change at the individual level is that for most of us, the things that we want to change are the behaviors or the circumstances that are most negatively salient in our lives, right? We don't think about the small things, right? We think about the big things, right? We think about health, we think about finances, we think about relationships. we think about these sort of, plate tectonic kind of movements. And so what happens is the goal becomes so big and it becomes so daunting that we become a bit paralyzed with understanding where to go next. And so a big part of my perspective on helping people change is not just first helping them understand why they're experiencing the friction that they experience. And again, if we can equate that on some level to the science of what's happening, you can sort of depersonalize it, right? People, a lot of negative self-talk, things that might be getting us down. Oh, I just can't do whatever. But if we can understand the systems, that can be a great way to depersonalize some of that self-talk that we get. And the second big piece is back to that big goal. Most people don't really know how to design goals that create motivation. We actually do the opposite. We create goals that demotivate us. And so I spend my time there first, sort of walking that back.
So what I'm hearing, and such a brilliant answer. Oh my God, I get so many notes. You're making me a better mentor. See, on the
That's the goal.
Yeah, he's coaching me, and
Yeah,
I'll write a check later. Don't worry, Audie.
yeah,
No,
that's right. You owe me $1 every time you
Yeah.
say that.
That's good. So small wins. If I go out and my goal is to make 100,000 this year, and I made 50, so I look at that week. Okay, I need to make 100, whatever that number count. Just using as example, the small wins. Because I say if you do small wins, you'll grow. It's kind of what you're saying a little bit.
Yeah. Like let's maybe take that example. I'll sort of give you another one that's very popular, which is, most people start January 1st and they're like, I want to lose, pick your number, 20 pounds, right? And they go exercise on January 2nd and they step on the scale on January 3rd. And what happens? Nothing, right? There's the shift is imperceptible. And so they do it again and they do it again and they do it again. And maybe by the 10th or 11th or 12th or the 19th day, they're like, why am I doing this? Nothing is happening. And so you have to think differently about your relationship to the effort that you put into pursuing your goal as opposed to the goal itself, right? And so one of the big principles of the book is really around this idea of rewarding progress and effort. You have to sort of fall in love with the effort of chasing your goals. And we actually know, based on the science of motivation, that, we are hunters, right? That's the reason our eyes are in the front of our head, right? The brain is at its best when we are striving. Most people think dopamine is the hormone of reward. It's not. It's the hormone of anticipation. And so if we can rebuild our goals in ways that create small starts and stops, right? So instead of saying, I want to lose 30 pounds, my goal should be, I want to exercise for 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week. And all I track is whether or not I did that. I track the effort. Did I do 30 minutes? Yes or no? It's a switch. And to your point, we were talking about this before the call. If I do that enough, I will move in the direction of my goal. I may not move. Well, you'll never move as quickly as you want. That's just a fact, but you will move in the direction of your goal and you will start stacking motivational experiences that slowly and incrementally change your life. And that's a big piece of what I try to help people do, right? Unless you hit the lottery, which is the only way to get millions of dollars in sort of one moment, there's a set of actions I need to take to put myself in a position to get promoted, to start a business, whatever it may be. You've got to focus on sort of falling in love with the actions. And that's a starting point for any change journey.
And the actions lead to outcome. Lost weight, more money,
right,
et cetera. Where were you 25? Well, now, because in 1980 to 2000, my family owned health clubs, and I worked there for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
I would have hired you. You would have changed and we were busy because of service, but knowing the fitness industry, January is the busiest. And like you said, February, and January 19th, it's coming. The other thing I'm hearing, Michael, which I love, is this is simple. It's the mind that gets in the way, but anybody can do this.
Well, I think I would say it's not complex. I wouldn't call it simple.
Okay.
It's hard, right? It's hard for reasons that we all understand, right? That it takes repetition, that it takes focus, that it takes failure, it takes mistakes, it takes feedback, it takes starting over every day. And so while I think it is not complex in terms of the things we need to do, it's rarely our understanding of what needs to happen, right? It's actually the physical delivery of the effort that makes it so hard. And so, look, this is true in business. We see this all the time. I just had a conversation yesterday about sort of founder syndrome, right? Which is this idea of, serial founders, they start companies, they get them to a certain spot, and either they try to sell them or they hang on too long. They can't adapt their behavior. They're too involved. It's too chaotic. The company needs to be more structured, have more governance. They're resisting that, right? That's a good example of this idea of, as a CEO or leader, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm falling on a set of habits and behaviors that have become really ingrained in me that I just can't break, right? So it's really about effort and sustained effort. And I mentioned this, and maybe just to come back to it, and it's a really big principle. If you're not making mistakes on the path to change, you will not change. There's parts in the book. Making mistakes is the single largest contributor to the opportunity for neuroplasticity that we can have in our lives, particularly as adults. It's essential. We don't learn the same way we do when we're younger. And so, it's things like that, right? The fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes. Those things are the things that kind of hold us back.
This is brilliant. Audience, I'm buying the book, guys. I just sold me, so I hope you go out and buy it. Because the other thing is dementia and Alzheimer's is massive out there. I had a guest on this week, and what you're saying is they need to change, they need to sleep more. We'll get into all that. Yeah. You're saying some incredible things here, because let's change. And it's, how about being okay to change? Is that part of this too?
Yeah, I have a little cliche, I guess, which is I hope you learn something new the day before they close the casket, right? I mean, I think we have the ability to learn for our entire lives. And anyone who tells you can't teach an old dog new tricks doesn't understand what they're talking about. It's just the formula for how we change is what's different. And when we're little, we learn through experience and exposure. I have a almost 10-month-old baby, right? And she just learns by experiencing the world, right? But when we're older, we have to be really intentional about where we spend our time. We have to have intentional focus, which is one of the principles we talk about in the book. And you have to repeat these actions far more than you wish you needed to, right? And so it always takes longer than we want. And so people just give up way before they, should give up. But we can learn that skill. And it's interesting. I had a young man working with me when I started writing the book, and he was reviewing sections and helping me build like some learning content off of the book. And he asked me a question that I hadn't really considered when I started writing it, which is sort of funny. I just started, and it was, part of the process. But he said, "Who do you want people to be when they're done reading the book?" And my answer was, I want the reader to believe that change isn't only possible, but it's necessary. And that the sooner I build this muscle, the sooner I have the life that I want, and I have, the experiences that I want, and I move in the direction of my goals, or I realize the things I thought I want are not the things I actually want, right? Which is part of the journey. So I just hope people really embrace the concepts.
Yeah, it's powerful. And leading to that is taking your book. You've launched a LinkedIn Live every week to tie into change, bringing experts in. Talk about that and what you do with the LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, so I'm a top voice. We talked about that. You are as well. So on LinkedIn, there's a pretty small population of people that have been acknowledged for their thought leadership contributions to the platform. There's about 900 million LinkedIn users. I think there's a couple thousand of us. So certainly a big honor. I've talked about change for quite a long time, which is what kind of got me there. But, there's amazing people from all walks of life, and DEI and the future of work and sales and teams and, everywhere in between, different industries. And so, my goal with that session every week is to bring our audiences together and have real in-depth conversations about contemporary business issues and relate that back to change and transformation in ways that hopefully are really helpful and powerful for people.
Audience, that's a true servant's heart. I say it all the time on my shows, give away free stuff. You bring experts in to give away the free stuff. You give away your free stuff. You've got your, and I love that because that's the missing component. Everybody wants to hold on to their IP. I've done this. I developed change. Sorry. No, here you're on a podcast helping people. You've got LinkedIn Live. It's so powerful. I'm also excited to announce that you like to speak. And just hearing you these last 15, 18 minutes, sounds like events and corporations you speak at. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I was at a session 2 weeks ago at a leadership offsite for a startup company, working with their executive team. So, keynote events, leadership offsites, company events and those sorts of things. And it's really about these topics, about teams, about leadership. But, my goal, and we sort of talk about a servant's heart, I have a pretty straightforward purpose, although I wouldn't say it's easy. It comes in three parts. And the first obligation I think I have is to help people enter into difficult and uncomfortable conversations and experiences, because that's where growth happens. My second obligation is to help them through that, to give them tools, hence the book and the LinkedIn Live and the YouTube channel. And the third is to lead by example. And these concepts, my poor wife and family, they get a heavy dose of me every day. And it's because I'm a practitioner, and I believe that, we have to come from a place of experience. I say this to my clients, to my teams, to my kids. I'll never ask you to do something that I haven't done or am not willing to do myself. And so, the YouTube channel and the LinkedIn Live, there's so much wisdom available in the world. I just want people to have access to it.
Love that powerful statement, which we hear a lot. I won't teach what I haven't gone through. Or CEO says, I used to clean the bathrooms. And so that type. It's so powerful. It's talked way too much because I think it's been saturated, but it's absolutely true. Before I ask the last question, I have a fun question to end the show. I haven't done this before in a podcast, so I want to do it now. Speaking in the book, where can we get the book? How can people contact you to hire you for a speaking gig and just ask you questions? And where can they get the LinkedIn Live?
Yeah. So my website, michaeljlopez.coach, is a great place where everything is kind of centralized. You can get all my social media there. I'm big on LinkedIn. I'm big on Instagram and those sorts of things. So that's an easy place. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Michael J. Lopez 9. Which is a great place. I've just started that, so it's just an emerging thing that I decided to do this year. The book you can find anywhere: Amazon, Ingram, Barnes & Noble. It's all there. Michael J. Lopez Change is an easy search, but there's a link in my website. So that's the best place to start. You can contact me for consulting, for speaking, all that stuff, all from that location. And I'm going to say this just because I'm proud of it. I love my website. It was done by my best friend, who is also my creative designer and lead. He does this for a living. So if you like my website and you want to know who did it, or you need help, let me know, because he's the best.
Servant heart, shouting out somebody else. Loving
go.
it. Way to come to the end of the show. Quick fun question. I want to learn a little bit more about you outside business. So I've got a restaurant reservation for you.
Okay.
Table of 4. You're obviously going to sit in one of the chairs. In the other 3 empty chairs, who would you invite? Whether they're dead or alive? And what kind of food would you order?
Yeah, I love this question. And this is maybe cheating, but I have 2 sets of answers.
Cheat away, my friend. This is your show.
Yeah. The first one, really, I think a discussion between Buddha, Jesus, and Einstein would be just about as incredible as you could ever imagine. I just couldn't imagine what that would be like to be in that experience. I just, so much wisdom, so much to learn and know about the world and the universe and who we are.
Talk about change too, Michael. The change they made. So let's keep going.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But if I had a day back, I would bring my grandparents back and have dinner with them.
So let's do this. Let's have 2 tables, because it's your reservation.
Yeah.
We'll have 2 tables to accommodate everybody. So what's everybody eating at the tables?
Oh, wow. Well, I am a big fan of sort of Spanish food and Spanish style food. My grandmother and grandfather emigrated to this country from Central America when I was a little kid. So there's a lot of comfort and familiarity and memory in those moments. So I would start with that. There'd probably be some good gin on the table as well, because I really don't, that's kind of fun. I like a good gin and soda. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be that kind of experience. I think food is such a warming, and being Latin, it's just such a warming experience of bringing people together. And I would love to have my grandma's cooking one more time. So I'd start with that.
I don't know if she does this, but I'd love to see Buddha eat tapas. I don't know
Oh,
why. It just came to
oh my
my.
God. My wife and I, we're going to be in Vegas in a couple weeks for an event, and one of our favorite restaurants there is a Jose Andres restaurant called Jaleo. And in the back of that, there's a small 6-person seating restaurant called which is among the most amazing experiences you could ever have with food. It is unreal. And he's one of the founding chefs of that restaurant. So we go every time. It's amazing.
I'm going to Vegas for work in a couple of weeks. You just sold me.
It's in the
Here I
Cosmo.
come
So
out.
you have to,
Come,
you have to
oh,
book the small seating well in advance, but you
I would
could go to
assume so.
or you could go to the main restaurant, and it's fantastic. So
Sweet. I love it. Thank you. And your blessing. You really get it. You really are out there serving people. People reach out to them. You've got all this contact info. Reach out to me if you can't. Comment on the YouTube channel. But here's what I want you to do. Here's your homework. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, but just not mine, Michael's, and everybody else that you like. I know there's millions of podcasts. Well, pick the 2 or 3 that you like, but here's the power of a podcast. That link that you give of Michael that we just did this whole recording, you may change somebody's life. Speaking of change, it can happen. I've had people reach out. Oh my God, I shared this link with so-and-so, and it'll change their life. Their business is growing. Their life is growing. They're recommitted to their marriage, multiple things. So use these podcast links as gift. And when you subscribe, you get the new show. You listen. Oh yeah, it's a fit. It's not. But who doesn't want to give gifts every day? And you have that opportunity to do that. With that being said, me and Michael want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this wonderful podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.